Sure.
Welcome to our public meeting in person and live streamed electronically Tuesday, July 8th. Opening of our meeting, land acknowledgement. The council and staff of the Township of Montague acknowledge that this sacred land on which the Township of Montague is now located and this meeting is being held is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. The introduction. The purpose of this public meeting is to hear the following application for zoning bylaw amendment, ZB 25-003-straight. The planner will provide a brief overview of the file. The applicant will be given an opportunity to explain the need for the zoning bylaw amendment. Then any person or public body in opposition and then in favor to the application will be heard. If a specific person or public body, as defined under the Planning Act, as amended, does not make oral or written submissions at a public meeting, or does not make written submissions to the Township of Montague before the bylaw is passed, the specified person or public body may not be added to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Land Tribunal, OLT, unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. If you wish to be notified of the decision of council with respect to the below listed application, you must submit a written request to the clerk, or you must sign the attendance list provided at tonight's meeting. This will also entitle you to be advised of a possible Ontario Land Tribunal hearing. The clerk must provide notice of council's decision to all those who request a copy within 15 days after the day the bylaw is passed. An appeal to the tribunal may be filed with the clerk of the Township of Montague by any party entitled to do so, not later than 20 days after the day that the notice of decision was given. The notice of appeal must set out the objection to the bylaw and the reasons in support of the objection, accompanied by the required fee. So disclosure opportunity or interest now at any point in time. And we'll have the approval of the agenda. Moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll, seconded by Councillor Crabtree, that the public meeting agenda dated July 8th, 2025 be approved as presented this date. All in favor? And that's carried. So now we will start with our planner review and proposed bylaw amendment, please.
Good evening, council. A full report with the information regarding this should be in the agenda in front of you. So the subject property is a 47.8 hectare property municipally known as 1727 County Road 43. And this is the subject of an ongoing consent application. The property is currently developed with an existing dwelling, barn, and 2 sheds. The proposed rezoning is for the 1.8 hectare parcel, separate parcel of land, and is a condition of consent in application B24036. The need for rezoning relates to both the MDS minimum distance separation calculation for a livestock facility at 1681 County Road 43, as well as a reduction to the separation distance from 500 meters to 300 meters between the proposed separate parcel and a nearby quarry operation. As part of the submission process for lot creation, there's a requirement to investigate all livestock facilities within 750 meters of the proposed lots to determine if there would be any land compatibility issues. Livestock operations can create negative health impacts such as drinking water contamination and nuisance complaints such as sounds and smells associated with livestock operations to nearby residential land uses that are too close to the livestock facility. And on the reverse side, it is unfair for livestock operation owners to be subjected to complaints related to normal farm operations from nearby residential property owners. And so to address this, the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs has developed a formula that considers the number and type of livestock in a livestock facility, the size of the livestock facility, and the way manure is stored that results in a building-based distance calculation that would create the least negative impacts to each land use type. And based on the information provided by the owner at 1681 County Road 43, the calculated building-based distance from their livestock facility impacts the easternmost portion of the proposed severed lot, as shown as Appendix C in the report in front of you. The sketch in the report illustrates this minimum distance separation, and no sensitive land use, such as living space, is permitted to be built within this area. The rezoning of the severed lot will contain provisions to this effect. Furthermore, as a consent of approval for the zoning bylaw amendment to the severed lands, the owner of the retained lands has agreed to enter into a development agreement to be registered on title with the Township of Montague. The agreement shall include a clause that addresses the requirement to limit agricultural operations on the existing barn of the retained lands to a maximum of 30 nutrients units as defined by the minimum distance separation guidelines. The applicant is also seeking a reduction of the separation distance between a proposed severed parcel and a nearby quarry operation from 500 meters to 300 meters. A mineral resource impact assessment was completed and supports the reduction of the separation distance. This condition of consent, the quarry setback reduction, was accidentally omitted from the notice of this application originally circulated. However, this has been rectified and an amended notice has been circulated pursuant to the provisions of the Planning Act. Comments with respect to this revised document have been requested to be provided to staff by July 28th, 2025. So as I previously stated, the notice of this application was given pursuant to the provisions of the Planning Act. The notice was mailed to all landowners within 120 meters of the subject property, emailed to all required agencies, posted on the township's website, and posted at the subject property. No comments or concerns were received from any circulated landowners, and Brig Gas has advised that they have no concerns. The application was also circulated to township staff for review and no concerns were raised. A report will be brought by staff to the August 5th council meeting addressing any recommendations resulting from this evening's meetings. And should comments with respect to the revised notice be received after the date of this meeting, they will be included in that subsequent report. Thank you.
Questions for our planner? Okay, so next is our comments. If you want.
Really not much to say, thank council staff for everything they've done, for all the help getting everything done, but yeah. Just want to rezone so we can build a house. Very simple.
Any written submission? So, okay. Yep, so moved by Councillor Johnson and seconded by Councillor Abbas that council adjourn the public meeting of July 8th, 2025 at 6:08 p.m. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you. Yeah.
You.
No, that was, yeah, thanks. You gotta wait, you still gotta wait.
Yeah.
You gotta wait easy.
Everyone. And
Yeah.
there is a sign on the podium there, there's a sign-in sheet, if everyone just wants to put their name on there, then we'll make sure we, I was gonna send it to you anyways.
I don't know if you know something.
I don't.
Hopefully we're not doing live,
Unless it's a check.
unless it's a check, you can write a check.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Guaranteed.
Welcome to our special meeting of council in person and live streamed electronically Tuesday, July 8th, immediately following our public meeting. Our land acknowledgement. The council and staff at the Township of Montague acknowledge that the sacred land on which the Township of Montague is now located, this meeting is being held, is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. We'll have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. So moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor Johnson that the special meeting of council agenda dated July 8th, 2025 be approved as presented. All in favor? And that's carried. Closure of interest now at any time during our meeting. Business, we don't have any. So first is our municipal report of officers, Public Works Manager, Ed, for Ferguson Tetlock Road, please.
Thank you, evening council. Report in front of you is in regards to a tender that was posted for rehabilitation of First Tetlock Road. This tender was posted with the project previously being McLaughlin Road for this year. That was non-committal to that project. We've moved on to Ferguson Tetlock, as it was noted both in the road use study and the opinion of other staff that it's kind of next to the list for attention. Posted online, 15 companies looked at it. We had 7 bids submitted. You can see the pricing in front of you, pretty aggressive pricing from these lower 3, certainly. So what we're looking for is 2 options for council to direct toward the tender to Tacklebury in the amount of $656,901.23. Of course, option 2 would be to not award this and re-tender in the future. This, of course, would be a full rehabilitation road. This would be, front end, pavement markings, all the culverts replaced, ditching, crushing, all work required. Any questions at all on that report?
It was good. Everything seems good.
Yeah, very good. For asphalt.
Pay more next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a little bit more than what the sort of estimate was, I guess, but we're in a pretty good number for that, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you think of the investment there and that, your life cycle is going to be on the road, it's certainly a recommended project.
So the Beckwith, they decided not to play this year. Are they talking in the future doing this or?
We're trying to find out.
So yeah, conversations are ongoing.
Oh, okay.
It's, there was different options presented as far as I know, and whether funding in the future or something like that, but in the meantime, the decision was made to move forward with some sort of project this year. We have other roads that need attention, so.
So I agree totally with that. I just wanted, are they ever gonna actually make that decision or sort of what's the feeling there?
So Chair through you. So yeah, so we'll continue discussions with them, and we'll update you accordingly. McLaughlin did go out as a surface treatment. Beckwith may want to see it as an asphalt, and I think even with Ferguson Tetlock, Ed and I sat down and we looked at, because we got a double surface treatment costing from McLaughlin, so we knew what that square meter price was versus the asphalt. And the asphalt's only coming in about 25% more than a double surface. So in 3 to 5 years, when you put that single lift on the micro onto your surface treatment, it's actually gonna be 10% more than putting the 50 mil lift of HL4. So I think even for McLaughlin, like this would be the approach, because why would we be putting double down? When we currently, for any new double that we've been doing, we've been putting that single or micro on in 3 to 5 years is actually about 10% more than the asphalt price we received this year. So you're gonna start to see, you're gonna get information coming back from us anyways, but I think that you're gonna start to see those discussions more and more of, okay, so if our maintenance is a double and then a single or a micro in 3 to 5, what's the comparison for just putting asphalt down right away? So you're gonna start to get that because asphalt's clearly a superior product.
So are the prices, because the reason why they always went that way, because there was such it was a huge pricing. So are those pricings coming back to closer together? Is that is asphalt dropping or is the other one going higher?
It's kind of like Allison said, it's more when you calculate that second lift, 3 to 5
Has it
years.
always
down
been
the
like
road.
that though?
No.
Because it wasn't
No.
always like that, right?
So- Well, I don't know if you wanna take I'll take it. So from coming from a paving company, double surface, I haven't been there for 10 years, but double surface treatment used to be in like $5 to $6 per square meter range. Now it's like 8 to 10.
So it's gone up.
Whereas the tonnage of asphalt was like $96. Now it's like 105, 110. So it has changed a little bit. It used to be closer to 50% of the cost. And so then even if you're putting that single back on, it was still cheaper.
Yeah.
The pricing that we've received this year, when we do that maintenance, not everybody does that another lift or micro in 3 to 5 years, but we have been, that's been how we've been approaching it to extend the life of that surface treatment. The based on the pricing of this year, it's about 10%. In 5 years, asphalt will be 10% less. From upfront, it's a little bit more, but if you do what we've been doing, it actually is a little bit less with the single lift. We're not doing a double lift like the county. This is a single lift of asphalt, so like a 2-inch lift. But it does work out. So that's where these discussions from finance and from the public works manager, like we'll be bringing those forward to council and make the best decision. Just because it's cheaper upfront doesn't mean over 5-10 years it's the best decision to make.
So what's the lifespan of that asphalt?
Upwards of 20 years.
It would be double.
It's double, because you're gonna have to resurface that before you even have to, like, and then your cost is even,
Yeah,
Even greater, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
so you're gonna start to see those things.
yeah.
So when you resurface that, say we put the pavement down, they resurface, they just use that machine where they come in and
Pulverize?
take the top, thank you. And take the top off and then add more pavement to it, so that's all you would have to do then, we wouldn't have to tear it all up again then. If we're
Sorry,
doing it, say
20
we
years
pave it
now,
now and say 10 or 15 years, we'll say 15 years.
Right.
Whatever goes, whatever they figure, but then they would just use a machine, come in and then just add pavement to it.
I mean,
It
it
makes-
depends what it looks like at that point, but yeah, potentially, yes.
Most of the time, I don't dig it all up again.
Right.
So moved by Councillor Abbas, seconded by Deputy Lead Carroll, the council enter into a contract with G Tackleberry and Sons Construction Company Limited for the rehabilitation of Ferguson Tetlock Road for a total cost of $656,901.23, including non-recoverable HST, and that council approved the use of $350,000 from gas tax and $307,000 from the Public Works Reserve to fund the purchase. All in favor? That's carried. Next is from our Public Works Manager for circular materials.
Again, so this information here, there's quite a bit of information in this report that's attached. We meet regularly with circular materials in these working groups, municipal working groups, and discuss issues with recycling and changes, potential changes coming, and so on. One this evening that we're going to discuss has quite a big impact, sorry, to all municipalities really, but it's in discussion too of collection from non-eligible sources. So non-eligible sources, again, it's listed in the report here as defined as, say, an industrial or commercial property, not-for-profits, municipal buildings and facilities, daycares, places of worship, campgrounds, trailer parks, commercial farms. These are all listed as non-eligible. So what they're looking at doing is removing those from the regular pickup for recyclable materials. So that typical weekly collection we get, in the township, we've identified 33 units in our township that would be classified as non-eligible. So these folks would have to basically find their own way of dealing with these materials. The concern is obviously many may just put that in with their waste. And then of course, we'll see the tonnage go up and the associated increased cost to that. So obviously there's been pushback in these working groups from other municipalities. Some options, if it did go ahead, were listed here on how we may deal with it if this was something that was to go ahead. So we potentially would have to separate curbside collection from these locations. So we'd have to contract it out potentially, we could approach other collection agencies to do that. Provide a depot collection for these folks. Direct public works staff to do it, which I mean is, with the current staffing levels and the workload, it's not really realistic. Or just not provide the service at all. So none of them are great solutions to the problem. So what we're asking for this evening is basically comments from council to be directed. There is a deadline of the 21st. For all municipal councils to direct comments back to circular materials in the hope that this service continues to be provided as it is currently with the regular curbside pickup that goes on.
So what kind of cost would we be if we had other people picking it up, just them, 32 places? Like, would we have a direct contract with someone and then they would do that, or?
So if we were to explore that, I mean, there'd be options, absolutely, right? So, if this was to go ahead, I'm sure there'd be some sort of joint venture with other municipalities.
Yeah,
We try to
that's-
figure out a contract, whether it be with, you know, whoever, I mean, there's lots of contractors out there that could provide it.
What I was thinking about, is this be something that the greater county could take over? Where it's stuff that isn't that, or would they not want to be involved in something like that, where it's,
Yeah.
it's straight to us?
Yeah, it'd be our responsibility to figure out. So with the four options presented, I think, you know, if council were to direct that, we'd explore those four options further. Sort of as a contingency, if this were to go ahead, at least we have that, have those rough numbers.
Well, you don't have the staff to do that to begin with, but, so that one sort of is a non-starter to me.
No.
But the other ones where you have a contractor and, so. What I'm trying to get to then is if you don't have, let's say, have a separate contractor. And then people start putting it in their other waste and stuff like that, then we pay on the other end, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So. Okay, so would that cost then outweigh? And then our. like,
Fair question, right? So like, what is the quantity we're talking about? If you're talking straight tonnage on recyclable materials, added to the waste stream as opposed to
Yeah.
recycling, what that would look like. Yeah, so it'd be a number we could try and quantify.
Yeah, so, and Chair through, I think that the biggest component is that the municipality itself also wouldn't be eligible if this goes through. So we also have to figure out what we're going to do with ours, and I think that from what I've gotten from this group is that we are encouraging recycling, not encouraging people to put recycling in garbage. So we would have to look at, and I think that potentially in the background while this is going on, we could reach out to a couple of contractors that provide this service. I also think though, in the meantime, that we should be mailing something out to these 33 individuals to even see if they put it out at the curb, because they might not. They may be bringing it somewhere, they may be doing whatever, like maybe a survey. I know that other municipalities did surveys to say, are you even using the service? That kind of thing. So because we have to plan for ourselves, because we don't have a waste sites, we don't have a recycling depot, we don't have any of that on in our capabilities to do, so we would be relying on others. But I think, as you said, you know, everyone around us is gonna be in the same boat, so Merrickville, us, Beckwith, like, we could potentially partner on like a one-day pickup. I think that from our side, we're hoping that council's in agreement that we're gonna put the comments back, saying that at least any kind of commercial or any of these non-eligibles that are already on a residential route would continue to be collected. You're not making a special drive for this, it's on your way. Especially municipalities, I'm not sure how they're exempting, removing us. So, we're hoping that council is supportive in that. And then we'll work together, in the background to try and figure out a quantitative value, because it will be in the budget, because it's effective January 1.
I know when I had a business in town, they wouldn't take recycling or garbage.
And if you're on.
We had to take it ourselves.
And just keeping in mind,
Now,
like.
they have changed, but I have been there for 2 or 3 years, so.
Yeah, so like one of the 33 is a school, which already looks after their own,
Yeah.
right? So, and that's why I'm saying some of these 33 maybe don't even, and some of them could have just a commercial component on their house. So they're gonna still get picked up because their house is there.
Right.
So it may be even smaller than that of the number of properties that are impacted. But we'll need to dig a little deeper. It's just, we wanted to get this to you to get comments, because we want to push back and kind of say if it's on a residential route, pick it up.
Yeah, I think this is a bigger pushback for more of a city, not so much us as being a small municipality, we only have 33. I think they're going more after the bigger,
Yeah.
the bigger fish, we're a small fish. And we just have to figure out how to mitigate it, and make it the most economical and easiest to do. Like, is there a way we can, like you said, they're en route, is there a fee that they can charge us directly so that you're not having to outsource it, since they are going there anyways? But for 31, 33, I think it's a great idea to reach out and see how many of them are actually active participants and how many is actually gonna be affected by it.
Yeah, like, not to repeat that, but a lot of that is that you're 100% right. And I know for like the commercial side of it, like same way when I ran the companies in Swiss also as well, we had our own separate contract. And you didn't do it. Oh, that was a separate one too as well. I know the schools, everything is separate already as it is. So like, I wonder how many we actually have, and like a lot may even have their own separate contract. And I think I would encourage, we want to encourage recycling, but I would think if there is somebody that's negatively affected, maybe the few they are, it's like, reach out to the recycling contracts. I feel like if we did it, they're gonna add it to like this role of like, what the truck is gonna be for your township to do, where it's like, but if the individual business does it on their own, they're probably gonna get better pricing and better costing. So like it's, but it'd be interesting to know how many are actually doing it, and also if they're part of a resident, exactly what you're saying. I mean, like, we probably have like a handful that might be, that might actually be truly affected. Those handful might already be doing their own contract. So like it's, like, so I'm game for doing the survey and actually seeing what is actually out there if it's not part of a residential, but they should be, if it's on the residential route and it's just one box, picking it up makes sense, but if you, yeah.
And sorry, Chair, through you, like, to be honest, it will impact like the Forget Me Not Club, the Civitan, places like that, if they're using the blue box. But if these places are across the road from a residential unit,
Put it there.
Yeah.
Like how much recycling does the Forget Me Not Club put out on?
put it across the road at your neighbors.
Also, it's at Tom's house.
Yeah.
Like it's a,
Like, I think it's kind of foolish, to be honest, for us small guys, they are literally gonna just put it at our neighbors. But, we still,
I think this was the intent was to go after the big cities, the ones that have a lot of commercial.
yeah.
But most of those commercial buildings already pay a separate. That's what I don't understand. Like, I've never heard of a commercial being, they're always exempt from the, from that.
Because of the volume.
And so you have to have your own contract. That's just always like, I've never seen where it's not been like, where like, it's, so anyways, so. Anyways, we'll put our comments in.
We have plans anyway.
And we'll go from there. And, yeah, so I mean, good. Next.
Moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Crafty. Council directs staff to submit comments to the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks through the Environmental Registry of Ontario, ERO, in support of future amendments to the Blue Box Regulation, OREG 391.21, under the Resource Recovery and Circular Economy Act 216, that would permit producer responsible organizations, PROs, to work with municipalities to continue the collection of non-eligible sources that are located along residential routes. All in favor? Carried. And next we have our municipal manager treasurer regarding our public works and fire complex update.
Thank you, Chair. This update number 9. So honestly, every day it continues to change. So even from the time that I wrote this report, there's substantially more going on out there. So the insides of the offices are pretty much done. There's going to do paint touch-ups over the next kind of week, and we'll be able to start ordering furniture and having that ready for the beginning of August. There's some photos of the garages. It still has the vapor barrier plastic down on the concrete to keep it from curing too quickly, but they're all completed. The concrete looks beautiful. It's shiny. It all runs to the proper drainage. We have, so as far as the financial impacts, we're still in a good financial position. So we've forecasted some pricing. It may change slightly. We've added just today a request for some additional pricing on some change orders for the civil side of things, so the parking lot. Other than that, we're about potentially $900,000 under budget. The project is still on schedule to be ahead of the completion date. Hydro hookups are to happen tomorrow or the following with a change in the pole. Hydro was out there today, and the transformer installation. We shouldn't be down power as they were expecting we might be, but we shouldn't be down any power during that transitional time. Asphalt's anticipated to be next week out here, so that's going to be different. We may need to have a closure for one day because they plan on paving the whole thing in one day. So I will keep everybody posted, but we may need to close, or it's only gonna have access. People have to park at the road and walk in if it's really essential,
A scooter there.
with a scooter for Jim.
Is there a safety concern for that at all? Because you don't want them parking on the side of the road, like it'd be better to say like.
I know, but they show up anyways,
a big
right?
emergency,
So,
yeah.
because we're gonna have fire's gonna be stationed somewhere else so that they have access to get out, so it's a whole plan. Really, we care most about the emergency services being able to get out and moving. I'll keep you all updated on what's happening, but asphalt is to happen next week, so. We really are getting there. All the mechanical and the plumbing and the lights and everything's getting installed, over in the area. And we have booked a grand opening public open house for the September 20th. And we have every intention of meeting that date and welcoming the public in so that they can see the building. And going from there. So included in the report, similar to always, are the change orders. The green ones are all ones that are approved, done, and the yellows are still, they haven't been signed, but we have pricing, and that's all included. So our change orders, again, we're gonna have some additional rock removal, Montague. But we're about 384,000 into the $1.3 million contingency, so that's where I'm saying we're about 900,000 still under what we had budgeted. The township responsibility items, the only ones that are outstanding for us are the office furniture, training room furniture, and the new benches storage for public works, so the two green line items. I have them priced, and we may actually receive better pricing on those, but that's kind of a worst case. So those items that were the township's responsibility were about 66,000 under budget on that. So far, everything is still continuing on in a positive direction. And hopefully whenever we meet in August, it's continued to be this.
Dumb question, but when it's all paved, is there eventually, maybe not now, but eventually gonna be parking spots put in?
There's gonna be painted parking spots. So there's some here. There's where ours are, there's all gonna be lines, and then the new building also has
Well, my question-
accessible.
The question was then, can we make sure they're wide enough, like maybe when you go to Costco where you can open up a door and don't hit somebody?
So there's only gonna be 2 or 3 out here, and then the rest are staff parking.
Just so many times they do a parking lot or they do something and they have, 10 cars and they, when you pull in, you're like a foot, you're gonna be able to up the friggin' door and hits it, that's all.
So you want them the size of an accessible spot for everything.
Not that wide, but.
That's a Costco spot.
No, but when you pull into any spots at Costco, you open up, it's like this, where you put your vehicle, then they got like a foot or so on each side.
So we're not gonna paint them like Costco, but
Okay.
they can be wider.
If it's just like what it is now, that's fine. I just thought if you were painting it, let's not paint it when, put lines in to park a car and it's just tiny, that's all.
Yeah, so we are gonna have lines, and so there'll be one accessible spot out here, just like there is now, but actually painted for accessible. And same as over in front of the fire hall and staff parking on the side, and then fire will have all of their parking
A
spots. as
special one
well.
just for Jim.
And special.
And a special one for a senior.
I'm 2 years older.
We'll take the extra paint off his pay. So, other than that, it's. Any other questions?
No.
No, this is the update.
No,
Wait for another tour.
Staff and contractors plugging us along, great. So moved by Deputy Reeve Carroll and seconded by Councillor Bass, that council accepts the Public Works and Fire Complex Update number 9 report as information as presented this week. All in favor? Carried. Reports of committees, petitions, bylaws, motion, notice of motion. No correspondence. Items, information items, unfinished business, other business.
Ally's got a big report too.
We have a question from the audience.
On the first meeting, where they have to have special conversation for the distance from the Fenton, from the farm building. Is that just to the property line or to exactly where the house is?
So the pit or the quarry is to the property line, and the separation distance, the circle that cuts in, that's to the sensitive land use. Does that make sense?
No, so the MDS circle goes into the straight property, into the
Right.
severed property, but they can only build their house outside of where that touches in that severed
Oh, okay.
location.
Yeah, so it cuts in, there's an arc in, so they can't have any sensitive land use in the circle.
Do they put their septic in that, or is that
Yes.
considered,
Yeah.
so you put your, so you have your septic go that way?
Your garage.
You can't put your wellhead there.
Right.
But you could have your septic there, or you could have a garage.
Or a shed
Or
or
a
garage.
shed, but just as long as it's not a living space, that's the, oh, you put a garage there, okay.
Any questions over, online? So moved by Councillor Crabtree and seconded by Councillor
Are
Johnson.
there any more questions?
Excuse me, one for meeting. Moved by Councillor Crabtree, seconded by Councillor Johnson, that bylaw 4158 2025, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its special meeting held on July 8th, 2025. Be read a first, second, and third time and passed, signed, and sealed this 8th day of July 2025. All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Councillor Bass and seconded by Deputy Reed Carroll. The council adjourned the special meeting of council of July 8th, 2025 at 6:36 p.m. until August 5th, 2025 at 6 p.m. or at the Quality Terrace. All in favor? And carried. Thank you.